I'm Gerald Bentley. This is Wrestling with Sales, and today we are going to legitimately, not analogies, not comparisons from, man, you moved across the country to pursue a career in professional wrestling. How can you help somebody sell something because you have to have that internal drive? No, no, legitimately, I'm talking to people who actually work on helping people sell cars. So no analogies, no forced comparisons. Talking with Paul and Kyle from Auto State of the Union. They host a daily morning show talking about everything going on with auto dealers from both the sales and operation perspective. So all sorts of topics going on. Kyle and Paul, thanks a lot for joining me today.
Absolutely.
Thanks
Glad
for
to be
having
here.
us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And there's so many topics going on. I'm sure people that don't work in dealerships think, oh man, what could you talk about? I mean, well, what? Well, I do this show and I also do a show called The Auto Authorities that's focused at consumers. Jay Grossman and myself. Jay runs iAuto Agent, so he's an auto broker and they do fleet management,
Hmm.
and I do dealership consulting. So we see it from a couple of different sides, and there are so many topics. We just put an episode up talking about the problems that may be facing auto dealers coming up here in just a couple weeks, just after Labor Day. September 14th, the UAW contracts are up. The new head of the UAW, not a fan of what's going on right now with the strike talks because, you know, he took the proposal that Stellantis gave him and threw it out. So Sean
Literally
Fain,
on video
yeah,
through it.
threw it out.
It's a
Sean
little,
Fain is saying it's time to get back some of what we gave up in the clawbacks from 2008 when it looked like legitimately U.S. auto manufacturing may be a thing of the past. The workers gave back a tremendous amount at that point. They started a two-tiered system where it's 8 years to get full benefits. Right now, you can literally start working at a GM, Ford, or Stellantis plant and make less than you make starting to work at Target or a Quick Trip. And I think they're going to go on strike. Have you guys done a couple shows talking about how that may impact some of our domestic dealers?
yeah, we've been following the story pretty closely. We had to make a conscious decision not to talk about it every day because every day, right? That's
Sure.
like the unfolding drama. There's definitely a lot of rhetoric flying around, and Sean Fain definitely is an intense negotiator, and he understands a little bit about theatrics and all the things that you do to establish a very aggressive position in the beginning. The
Mhm.
three OEMs, very high levels of inventory comparatively to the other imports. Stellantis, 100-day supply, Ford, GM, also very high day supply. So
Sure.
it looks like they're also in a position where they could absorb a strike. So, we hear a lot of opinions back and forth all over the industry, and it's kind of split down the middle. I think half of the people feel like they're definitely going to strike. The other half are like, nah, I think we'll get an agreement, and it's just theatrics. So I don't know. I wish we had some insider information for you, but we just don't.
Yeah, I
That
mean, it is tough to say because, and Kyle, we just got through the summer of the strike. The Screen Actors Guild, they're still on strike. The writers are still on strike. I'm getting ready to see reruns of World News on ABC primetime because they're out of reruns to show. But the
That's
one
brutal.
strike that was looming that would have really just devastated the economy because everything gets shipped now. UPS, they went right up to the wall
right up to the
and
wire. Yep.
UPS blinked, and now UPS drivers are going to get $170,000 a year by the end of this contract. Do you think that we're going to be kind of walking down that same path? And when push comes to shove, the factories are going to go, yeah, we really don't want to shut everything down. Okay, here.
Yeah, I mean the numbers say that the impact to a 10-day strike at this point, that just across the industry, all the way down to the suppliers and dealers, could be around $5 billion in lost revenue just on a 10-day strike. So when you look at that and you look at like it's not just these factories that are impacted, it's all of their suppliers, and then it's all of the retailers as well. There's a lot hanging in the balance here. We see this, a large negotiations come up every 4 years, and we typically see this type of energy and pressure on both the manufacturer and the factories. Like Paul said, it seems like, and the people that are closest to the situation, we talked to Jamie Butters of Automotive News. He's very close to the OEMs. It seems like there will be some level of strike. And like I said, that just a few days ago, the UAW voted at a 97% rate of their members to authorize the strike. So I think you'll see some level of negotiation put into a strike, but I don't think it'll last extremely long because everybody understands that the retail environment right now is extremely aggressive, and keeping vehicles on ground is extremely important going into Q4 to maintain the volume that's necessary to keep up with the demand.
Yeah, very true. I mean, dealerships since the beginning of COVID have been really scuffling to get any kind of standing inventory. And you've seen millions of less cars sold and produced than would have been produced at normal times. And depending on the brand, like you said, I mean, Chrysler dealerships, the number I saw was the average Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram dealership has a 135-day supply of cars. But the average Toyota, the average Honda dealership, despite the fact that Toyota and Honda are banging the gong to record profits, have a functional 0-day supply of inventory,
Right.
because the day supplies that are released also count vehicles in transit. And the majority of Toyotas and Hondas take about 30 days to get to the dealership. So if you have a day supply of 21, that really means you have a functional negative 9-day supply. So everything is still really, really tight.
Without a
And
doubt.
I think that's really having a pretty good effect on the economy, because it takes a lot of shirts and a lot of vacuum cleaners and flat screen TVs to equal the economic impact of selling a car.
That's true. That's a really good.
Yeah, we were talking to NJ, New Jersey Car. They're the essentially the New Jersey Dealer Association, and they put out some stats where just auto sales alone, I think, was responsible in New Jersey. I think it was $2 billion in tax revenue in the last year.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, you just think of that as a small state, right, in sales tax revenue.
Yeah.
Auto is definitely playing its fair part to keep the economy up. And right now, like, you talk to any auto dealer and they are looking for people, right? They're like actively trying to figure out recruiting best practices, how to build technician training systems, how to build, sales training systems to move people into sales management, because the talent pool has been reduced. So there is a lot of activity to learning what it takes to bring those people into auto right now, because the environment is still so strong.
And I know you guys talk about that as well. So it's really some great programming to listen to if you are a dealer, if you are a dealership manager, because I'm very confident there is not a dealership in the country that if you walked into it today and in a moment of honesty got with the general manager, the dealer principal, and asked, hey, could you use 3 new techs in service? There's not a single one that would say no.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're looking at a cliff. I mean, you just are, because the majority of the technicians are older.
The master
55
techs,
and older
especially.
is about the
Yeah.
average age of a master tech. They're getting ready to be done. And I've seen at multiple dealers master techs that have said, you know what, I'm done. I've had enough of the training. I don't want to learn about plug-in hybrids. I don't want to learn about EVs. I'm going to go work in an independent shop. The average age of a car in America is 13 years. That means I have way past retirement, and I can just work on
Absolutely.
regular cars and do stuff I know. I'm out.
Yep.
And then at the other side, the young guys that you're hiring in, young guys and, hey, dealers, I mean, I know it sounds crazy to you, right? You're allowed to hire women to work on cars. It's legal. You can do it.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
actually, a good friend of
You
ours,
can market jobs to women at car dealerships.
more and more, we're
Because,
starting to see
hey,
it.
it's half of the country. I mean,
We're
come on,
starting to
guys.
see the best dealers more and more deploy that strategy. And some of
Yeah.
these dealers, half of their staff are female across the dealership from the front to the back. There's one young lady, Patrice Banks, who founded Girls Auto Clinic in Philadelphia, who has a very, I mean, she's been in like Time Magazine and on Jim Farley's podcast, but she's got a very specific focus on attracting, recruiting, training, and then placing female technicians with high levels of success. We're going to try to get some of her secrets from her, but like that's a trend that I think we're going to see more of. And I think you just hit it right on the head when you said that.
I think a lot of it is just want to, you know,
Mhm.
because the single most dangerous phrase you can hear at a car dealership. Yeah, and I used to do news coverage too. The line that you used to get is when President Reagan said the most dangerous phrase you can hear is "I'm from the government, I'm here to help."
I'm here to help. Right.
The single worst thing you can hear at a car dealership is, "This is what we do because it's what we've always done."
Mm.
And you ingrain that in. Sometimes you can have a process in place that's great, and you do want to do that and you want to replicate it. So it's not always bad. But if you're marching to something that made sense 20 years ago and you're unwilling to change it, that could well be the thing that leads you to fail. Because while the top level master techs are leaving or retiring, the other problem I've seen at dealerships is the bottom of your service department, the lube techs, the line techs. It's a revolving door because they're jumping to another dealership. They're jumping to another place because they pay $1 more an hour.
Well, you know what
And
gets us excited,
you're not building.
Gerald? The things that get us excited is that we have like a view into this undercurrent that's happening across the country in dealerships where they are refusing to adopt that, and they are taking so much action and energy, investing money and emotional energy in actually flipping that script. And that's one of the things that
Good.
we like wakes us up every morning and we get excited
Yeah.
to come in, because we want to push those to the front and normalize this exceptional behavior of people pushing back against the exact things that you just said. And that's why we're excited, is because we see, I mean, I would guess probably 20% of the dealers across the country, 20% of the 16, 17,000 dealers are part of the undercurrent. And you just don't quite see it yet. It's starting to pop up. But I think that in the next 36 months, you're going to see a massive flip of the script, because of the things that you're saying are going to be drowned out by the people actually performing the opposite way. And oh, by the way, it's going to make really good business sense too.
Right. And this is not just single rooftops. This is large dealership groups. I mean, literally, we just got a photo from the CMO of Group One, and their entire marketing strategy is based off of how do we love people both internally and externally more than we actually love cars. Like, how do we create environments for our customers and employees where they actually show through their actions and through their marketing strategies and through all of that they love people more than you love cars. You talk about the fact that there are some dealers that the rotating door of lube techs and you know, C&D techs is very, very high because they're always looking for that next dollar. We have a good friend at Beaver Toyota of Cumming. We're actually highlighting them on our TV series this coming month called More Than Cars. They literally hang in every single department career path growth. Like, here's how you go from here to here, and their retention is over 98% in every single department, because they're showing people a path to growth and not just saying, hold on there, you're going to be there for a hot minute. It gives people the opportunity to grow. And that type of behavior is like every business vertical could learn from that type of behavior. I think literally, like what Paul was saying, in the next 36 months, you're going to start to see the undercurrent be the current that everybody sees. You're actually going to see other business sectors start to look at automotive, I believe.
Oh, now he's preaching.
Oh, I fully believe it, because I think automotive is so much in the pop culture eye right now because of EVs, because of plug-in hybrids. We're actually going to see other business verticals start to reach into automotive and ask for like dealers to be speakers at their conferences because they're wondering how they're doing business. I fully believe that that's going to be the case in the next 36 months.
I could see that, because I think, and we do have something in common. I started doing this show during COVID because honestly, everybody was at home, had some time, and now you can run broadcasting out of your house. So I decided, why not? Let's give it a try. And you guys started Auto State of the Union during COVID, and there's a way to communicate a message and to broadcast, to build an audience, to build a community that really, because of some unintended consequences from the COVID shutdown, from the inventory shortage, dealers haven't had to do the last few years. I mean, dealerships, it was a great time to have a dealership.
The
Virtually
best time in history to have a
yeah,
dealership.
every
Absolutely.
brand was selling every car. Every car was selling
Top
an
dollar,
MSRP or over.
right.
You
Yep.
couldn't possibly overbid a trade because trades were going up.
Yep.
Banks were begging for business because unit volume was down, so they were approving almost anybody. Now it's getting back to a little bit snap back to reality. And you're having to work, you're having to try and make deals, you're having to close deals. And that dealership that can make a difference, that can convey to people that we're really trying, we want to work with you, and not just say it, but actually integrate that into the whole process, is probably going to be the one that wins.
True. Yep. True. I mean, dealers are riding high. It's, to tie this back to the strike story, strikes and contract negotiations, the disadvantage to them is that typically when they're negotiated, you're on the tail end of something, right? They're not a leading indicator, it's a trailing indicator. And so like when back in 2008, right, the industry was coming off of a lot of hard times, right? Or just in them. And so they've renegotiated this. And now so far later, they're coming off of some really good times. The problem is that still moving forward, OEMs have to invest so much money into this new sector of EVs. They're losing billions and billions of dollars. You have new entrants like direct to sales models like Tesla, Rivian coming into the market. So there is this whole like, what season are we in now? But the question is, what season will we be in for the next 5 to 7 years over the next contract? And so the dealers that have changed and pivoted, they've invested the money that they made during that time. We've obviously seen high acquisition, like high price acquisitions and exits, but that's starting to change. It's still solid though. And you see all these profits. Back to like what the best dealers did is they took that money and they took that opportunity of being locked down, needing to do business in a different ways. And they've invested in tech. New companies are popping up that have are solving a lot of the website problems, the speed issues, the online process issues. And they've been forced to think about the handoff between the web experience and the store experience. And so like COVID has, pushed people like us to start new things because the situation required it. And I think automotive is coming into this renaissance where the crisis situation started it. And I think it's really hard to argue that we're not a lot better for it. Like we progressed 10 years in the last 2 because of all that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, constant change. And I think anytime there is change, there's also kickback, there's a resistance to it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Oh, and there's plenty that are that way. And we're seeing, I mean, like you see this in chat rooms and on LinkedIn, you see this dichotomy of like, there are dealers that feel the pressure of a potentially struggling market, of slower showrooms. But then you have other dealers that have taken that investment, the same thing that Paul is talking about, invested in their people and their technology and their processes. And they're actually like succeeding more than they have historically. And so you've got this weird dichotomy in the market where there's going to be a massive gap in winners and losers, to those that are paying attention to progressive mindset and those that kind of rested on their laurels.
Well, and I think there's a little bit too much kickback too. The EVs are fat, they're dead. It's not going to work. Look, dealers are turning down EVs because if you take a look back at any innovative technology, they do follow a chain of events. There's the release, there's the early adoption, people that are true believers. I'm going to get it. I don't care if it's a beta version. I don't care if it's not perfect. I want it. And they buy it. And they buy all of them. Then you get a little bit of a dip down because the production isn't at full steam yet. The prices are still high. People are hesitant. They don't want to do it. I could be talking about EVs. I could be talking about DVD players. I could be talking about smartphones.
Or
Every
DVD
technological innovation follows the same pattern. This isn't something that was unpredicted. There's a reason why every manufacturer is either partnered up with somebody or actively building their own multi-billion-dollar EV battery factory. There's one being built just a couple of miles away from me for $4.5 billion by Panasonic to make EV batteries for auto manufacturers. They built it on spec. These people aren't idiots. They're not going to fail. And when there's all these EV batteries available, you don't think that the prices of the EV vehicles are going to drop like a rock? If you don't believe that, look at your flat screen TV in the house that you probably bought for $400 or $500. Back when
I
was
remember
in
my
grad
first
school,
one.
Yeah.
My
they
first
were
flat screen was
fortunate.
32 inches. It was maybe 720p.
Yeah.
And it was like $1,700.
Well, I was going to say back when I was in grad school, I
And it was
posted
this
an
thick.
infomercial for a 27-inch flat screen that they were going to use for surgical room monitors. It was $25,000. And we were
My
amazed. We couldn't believe
goodness.
it. This would have been like 90, I don't know, 94 or something. We were looking at it doing the infomercial. And we couldn't believe it. Wow, you can stand on the side and see the whole picture. This is amazing. It was like
Right.
$25,000. Now you can get that TV. Go to Costco or Walmart. You can get a TV just like that, but
129, yeah.
better for like $100. And I think that same thing is going to come to EVs. It's just a matter of time. And like you were saying, the UAW is really kind of on the front foot looking forward at this. You get EV batteries readily available and new technologies that are more capable. Toyota just put a new executive in charge of their EV initiative, and she said they're going to have a solid state battery ready to go by the 2025 model year that'll triple the range and half the weight.
They're not playing.
They're not messing around.
They're not trying to fail.
My guess is Toyota leapfrogs the majority of auto manufacturers in the next 3 years for their EV production.
Yeah, I mean they may jump past this whole generation of the 400, 500 mile range and say, okay, yeah, we're just not even going to make those here. Here's half the weight, 3,000 pounds. It gets 900 miles. Let's go. And for the UAW, they have to look forward at that because the EV in itself is the majority of the battery, is the majority of the car. So you're not going to need as many workers, and the workers that are making those EV batteries, they're not represented by the UAW.
Right.
So they really, in a way, are looking for their survival, because if you go to all EVs or majority EVs, you need a whole lot less workers.
Without a doubt.
So
It's
everything
shifting, right?
Everything
One
kind of
thing you can
ties
count on.
together.
Without a doubt. Everything's changing, and you have everybody in one sense on one side like fighting to keep it the same. But you cannot outstrength, the current of pop culture and technology. You just can't. You have to figure out how to float on top of it.
And time usually wins. So
every time,
if you're fighting,
according to my
time,
records, every
losing.
time. Right?
Yeah,
I'm still moving forward, at least personally. So
yeah, it's not good. Now, where can people find your shows on a weekly basis or on a daily basis?
Probably the best place to get connected with our ecosystem is our website. ASOTU, it's the Automotive State of the Union, ASOTU.com. That links out. We do a morning show, we live stream it, and it's podcast available on Spotify, Apple, everywhere else. But the website and the media, we have a daily email that goes out every single day with some pop culture, a lot of auto industry news and insights. We're producing a TV show. We're having a live event in September. So really the ASOTU.com is the center point for all of that. But if you're a dealer and you want to come to a national level auto event, we're going to be in Baltimore, just south of Baltimore Airport, September. Oh, it's on the screen, September 26th and 27th. That's ASOTUcon.com. And you could just look at the speaker roster. We have over 1,100 rooftops represented with some really big names. Mike Stanton, the president of NADA, will be there. We have Jesse Cole as our keynote speaker, and just a barrage of dealers, operators, practitioners, because, those are the people that you really want to listen to because they have their hands in the dirt every day. Thanks for letting us talk about that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, absolutely. That's very interesting, very impressive too, because the company's only been going for 3 years, 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, kind of officially a little under 2 years, like as an official company. And then our first live stream just kind of materialized out of nothing in April of 2020.
There you go. Not that long ago.
Not at all.
No, we were on our YouTube channel yesterday, and we don't have a great reach on our YouTube channel, but all of our content, it's like kind of where we park everything. Mm-hmm. And if you go to ASOTUbe, ASOTU.be, and just look at the main page of the YouTube channel, you can kind of get a good feel for the vibe and the energy and the variety of content that we try to make. And again, we're just trying to go from the ground level, front lines up, and talk about the great things happening in the stores and the great practitioners. And, you probably also see that we like to do it in a very entertaining fashion. It's entertaining to us anyway.
Yeah. There's so many areas to hit too, because you have service, you have financing, you have old school selling, closing. It's one of the few jobs left in America where somebody can go in and actually negotiate their pay. That doesn't happen hardly anywhere anymore, but at a car dealership, you can. It's one of the few jobs that's still largely, even with the big groups, the majority of it is family owned. So there is a local impact in virtually every city in the country outside of the top 30 cities. The dealerships are probably a huge part of that city's tax base. They're integrated into the community, which doesn't happen anymore. Local department stores are gone. Even Nordstrom Dillard's are the last family-owned department stores left, and they have a lot of private equity money. They're publicly traded companies. It's a different universe. If you're going to go work in high-level commissionable retail sales, you're in cars. So there's so many areas and facets you can talk about. It's never-ending topics, and it touches so much of the community. So it's really a great area to focus on because you can almost talk about anything and relate it back to car sales.
That's right. Touches every corner of the community. Absolutely.
Yep.
Well, let's go ahead and wind it down here. We've got to go to the championship round, get you guys the Wrestling with Sales title.
I like it.
So you get a belt for the week.
All right.
Like
have your championship belt. What do you think is going to be the biggest topic that people are talking about in auto sales over the next year?
Oh man, that's a great biggest topic in sales. I think it's, go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah, I think the biggest topic in sales is going to be how to build an experience worth visiting the store still. And what that experience actually looks like. There's been a lot of testing the ground with digital retailing, omni-channel retailing, understanding like what the showroom process may need to change and look like. But I think you're going to see a reinvigorated conversation as COVID is completely, not even a part of the conversation anymore. And we're seeing all of this conversation around Gen X moving back into like loving going to malls and loving going to shopping and retail experiences. And so there's going to be a reinvigorated conversation around the actual shopping experience. So we're going to move away from like analytics and marketing and tech and all that, and we're going to go back to shopping experience as the main thing that we talk about. And so you're going to see that in the sales environment as well.
I like that old school produce the body.
I think I'm going to double click on that and just give a little, like, I think that the element in there that is going to also rise to the top of the conversation is the handoff between the online experience and the in-showroom experience. I don't think you can accomplish what Kyle just said unless you get that part right. Because when someone walks in the store, if they have to start over again, or if they feel like it's not cohesive what they talked about with a rep or a BDC and what happened in the store, it's impossible to give the experience that Kyle just said.
Very true. You defeat the whole purpose, because if you come in and there is a major dealership group that this is what they taught until, I think, in 2018. Oh, the internet just says whatever they need to say to get the body here. We start and do our process.
It's unbelievable.
You do that now, some people it'll work, sure. But you do that now, the majority of customers are going to go, why am I talking to this clown?
Yeah.
And they'll bounce.
So
that's a good point. Now, how about, what do you think is going to be the key for a sales rep to be successful?
I think it's just personalized awareness. Like, everything as personal as possible. And some of that is old school, right? Like making sure your interpersonal communications are great, but also I think that has a lot to do with what you're doing online on your social media channels. The availability for a great salesperson to build a brand and scale quickly has to do with how they're going to make it as personal as possible in person and in their social media.
Great. And then finally, what are you looking forward to the most at ASOTUCon? Not to be confused with Ahsoka. She's the Jedi that is currently starring in the Disney Plus.
She's going to be there. I'm just kidding.
Is she? Rosario Dawson's going to be there. But now, what's going to come up at ASOTUCon? Why? Just a 30-second hit. Why should somebody go to Baltimore the 26th, 27th of September to see it live?
Yeah, so we like to say, like, it's the perfect mashup of learning and environment, right? So we create the environment with the food, the energy, the way that every room feels, the party at the very end of it with a live party band, but also the content. You get to learn from people like Jesse Cole, the owner of the Savannah Bananas, the wildly popular baseball team that's taken the world by storm. You get to learn from over 33 dealer practitioners that are actually doing the work. And so marrying that actually allows you to absorb more of the information and go back into your stores with real practical, tactical ways to grow. So I'm excited about the parties and the food and the way that they integrate with the content and some of the impressive panels that we put together.
Great. Anything to add to that? Or
no, that's it. I mean, a collaboration is critical. That's our subtitle for the event. And collaboration really does involve people knowing one another, sharing information, and figuring out how they can help one another. And we know this industry is full of collaborators. What other industry do you go to where competitors share secrets?
It's true. Not a whole lot. But if you do tune in to Wrestling with Sales and you go to YouTube, you can listen to former two-time NWA World Heavyweight Champion Trevor Murdoch, and he is on there featured talking about NWA 75 that just happened in St. Louis. So you can get that analogy from the wrestling mat to the sales floor from Trevor Murdoch. It's available right now on the YouTube channel, Wrestling with Sales. Thanks a lot for joining us here, guys, and we're looking forward to the ASOTUCon coming up the end of September, the 26th to the 27th in beautiful Baltimore, Maryland. Paul, Kyle, they can follow you guys on ASOTA.com and check you out every day. Thanks a lot for stepping in the ring here. Really appreciate it.